When you're low and your knees can't rise, you feel helpless and you're looking to the sky. Some people would say to accept defeat. Well, if this is fate, then we'll find a way to cheat. 'Cause we'll say a little prayer. That if the answer isn't fair, you know you can call on me when you need somebody. You can call on me when you can't stop the tears from falling down. You know you can call on me, call on me, darling. You can call on me. You can't stop the tears from falling down.
width apart and your feet are placed parallel, you can help us by indicating where your hip bones are. Use your index fingers to find a projection of bone at the top and front of the pelvis. Slide your fingers down till they feel this bump. Go over the bump and back up to mark the bottom of this bony projection. Hold the fingers still for a few seconds and add a single parallel plie. Finish by dropping your arms to your sides. Make sure you're standing tall and as well as you can, and hold this position for around 5 seconds. Test 2. Shoulder posture and standing posture from the side. Make sure you are exactly side on to the camera with your head facing forwards, not towards the camera. Stand in parallel with your feet hip width apart. Stand tall as well as you can and hold this position for about 5 seconds. You can then turn 180 degrees so we can see your other side. Test 3. Roll down with your back to the camera. In this test, we are looking for rotational asymmetries of your spine during a roll down and return. If your hair might get in the way of our view, please bring it forward of your shoulders or perhaps tie it up further. From your best standing tall position, with your head placed so that your chin is in and your face is vertical, hold this position for a second or two, then taking about 5 seconds for the whole roll down, nod your head, keeping the chin in and down onto the chest, and smoothly roll down from the top of your spine till your fingers touch the floor. Return smoothly back up again, focusing on unrolling the spine from the bottom to the top, taking about the same length of time for the return movement. Test 4. Parallel plie. We will look at your parallel plie from 2 positions. Make sure you start from your best standing position with your feet both parallel and hip width apart. Perform 2 parallel plies from the side and again 2 while facing the camera. Test 5. First plie. Our next test is a plie in the ballet first position. We are not wanting a forced turnout. We are interested in how you get from parallel to first. So starting with a side view on, standing well and parallel, move then into your first position. Perform 2 plies as best you can without letting your heels lift. We also want to see a quarter on view of the first plie. To do this, turn so that your body is not facing the camera, but in your first position, one of your feet is. We are looking at the alignment of your knee over foot in your plie. Do 2 more plies. Test 6. Single leg parallel plies. We are now looking at your ability to perform a single leg parallel plie on both sides. Stand in parallel, transfer your weight onto your left leg, taking your right foot behind you. Perform a single leg plie. Transfer your weight onto the other side and repeat the plie. Test 7. Rise, then single leg balance on releve. Standing in parallel, feet hip width apart while facing the camera. Please fully rise on 2 feet. We are looking at alignment here. In the rise, transfer your weight onto one foot for a couple of seconds, then transfer the weight back to the other foot, holding the position for the same length of time. This is a tricky balance, so don't be too worried if your balance appears a little off. Test 8. Pointing your feet. Stand side onto the camera in parallel. Take one leg forward, point your foot in parallel, not turn out, then repeat with the other leg. Test 9. Calf length. We want to see how long your lower calf muscles are. So, staying side on to the camera, bend your knees as deeply as you can, keeping your knees aligned over your feet. Test 10. Hip flexor length. Initially, face the camera in a kneeling lunge position. On the side of the forward leg, hitch up and lower the pelvis a few times and try and set the pelvis in a middle position so that the hip bones are horizontally placed. Make your waist curves appear symmetrical. Turn to the left with your left foot forward so that you are side on to the camera. Place your right hand across your chest so your back is visible to the camera. Set your position so your right thigh and spine are vertical. Check how our model shows this position. Tuck your tail so your low back is flat and move your trunk and pelvis forward, keeping the low back in its tuck and the pelvis level across the front. Face the camera in the lunge position again, this time with the right foot forward. Find the horizontal level of your pelvis. Turn to the right. Place your left hand across your chest. Vertically align your trunk and left thigh. Tuck your tail and move your trunk and pelvis forward without losing the tuck of the pelvis. Test 11. Combined hip test. These tests help us see your hip flexibility and may identify hip pinches, clicks, or if discomfort is felt. Do not force the tests. If you are concerned about pain, stop and move on to the next test. Tell the camera if you feel anything more than a mild discomfort, or if you feel a noticeable click, then indicate with your hand the general area of any discomfort. Bring one knee to your chest, pull it firmly in. We call this a gentle overpressure. Keeping the knee into the chest, scour the top of the circular socket of the hip twice by scooping the knee in an arc and out again. Finish by taking the knee towards your opposite shoulder. Hold it there as you take the ankle with the same side's hand and pull the lower leg outwards. This action turns the hip inwards. Remember to report discomforts. Repeat on the other side. Lie on your back. Take the other knee in a gentle overpressure into the chest. Scour the top of the hip socket in an arc twice. Take your knee towards the opposite shoulder. Pull the ankle outwards, turning the hip in. Test 12. Hamstring length, lying on your back. Bend one knee up so your hip is at 90 degrees and the thigh is vertical. Straighten the knee so the leg is nice and long. If you have any range left, take your straight leg in to a further hamstring stretch position. Take your leg back down, then repeat on the other side. Test 13. Abdominal low tummy pull-in and breathe. The abdominal muscles need to be able to recruit at gentle amounts of effort without interfering with your breathing. So this subtle test looks at your ability to pull your lower abdominal wall in, stand side on to the camera while continuing to breathe. Let your tummy relax so that your belly gently hangs out. Then, focusing on the area below your belly button, slowly draw in the lower abdominal wall. Keep breathing. Relax fully, letting your belly hang out again and repeat. Test 14. Abdominal knee floats. This abdominal muscle test again looks at recruitment but also at strength. If you feel anything more than a mild discomfort, please stop the test instantly. Tell the camera and move on to the next test. This test is performed lying on your back with your knees bent and feet flat. Draw the low abdominal wall in while breathing. It will help if you practice noisy breathing and do not pause at the end of each in or out phase of the breath. Imprint your low back into the floor. This flattens the low back. Lift and lower one leg at a time so that the thigh gets to vertical and the lower leg is horizontal. Repeat a couple of times. Remember to continue with the noisy, continuous breathing, and on the third time, keep the first leg up and bring the second leg up to join it. Lower the first leg, then lower the second leg. It is performed by lifting up one leg, then the second leg, so both legs are in the hip 90, knee 90 position. Take both heels to the floor and back again to the hip 90, knee 90 position, all the while continuing to breathe. Make sure your back stays on the floor. Exit the test by putting one leg down, one at a time. If the strength test hurts, stop the test, report that it hurts, and move on to the last test. 15. The hypermobility test. Facing front, 1. With the wrists held forward, can you get your thumbs to touch your wrist? Do this on both sides. 2. Can you bend your little finger back beyond 90 degrees at the knuckle? Repeat on both sides. 3. With your palms up, can you over-straighten your elbows out to the side? Now, facing side on, 4. Push your knees as far back as possible. Now bend forwards. Can you get your hands flat on the floor? And that's it. Thank you so much for performing your physical assessment for us.